Okay. Hi. YouTube.com/Bryan Fonseca. We are here. We are live. We are going to be talking about FIBA Olympic basketball qualifiers. If you've been following me at all on social media, you know I've been talking about this because I love this shit. I love international basketball so much. I love international soccer too, and I realized shortly before starting this is going head to head with Spain versus Germany. So if you're not watching this, I understand, but hopefully you are, and you can get back to that later on. You could even watch both and turn the sound down on them, hopefully, because they're playing the game and I'm talking. But anyway, FIBA Olympic qualifiers are here on the channel. Did a preview on what to sort of look ahead to, and a lot of the things that were discussed in that have sort of played out. And we've gotten some surprises inevitably because this is how it goes in international basketball. You have to look at these as, while it's not single elimination yet, it's about to be now. We're going to get into that. It's kind of March Madness style. Shit happens. So we're going to go bracket by bracket. I was going to go in order of time, but all the games basically for the knockout stage are going to be tomorrow. And then the championships on Sunday to determine who's going to go to the Olympics. Okay, that's where we're at. So we started at 24 teams. 8 have been eliminated. 8 have been eliminated. We're down to 16, and it's going to be 4 in each location: 4 in Spain, 4 in Greece, 4 in Latvia, 4 in Puerto Rico. 1 from each. 1 will advance to the Olympics. That's where we're at right now. Okay, good. So we're going to go bracket by bracket in terms of looking ahead to the matchups. In the Spanish bracket, we're going to start there. That's in Valencia. This one has been a pretty good one. The most fun one's probably being Latvia. We're gonna do that next. Spain and Lebanon advanced from Group A. Angola is out, and kind of unfortunate for Angola because Angola lost to Lebanon, lost by 4, and that came the day after, pushing Spain to the brink, damn near losing a single-digit game, 89-81. And that was a game where Angola led at different points, but they were trailing by single digits late in the fourth quarter. Spain had to sort of eke them out. Got some comments here. Hello, brother. Jao Betancourt. Thank you. Felix. Oh, I should mention this actually. This is a good comment from Felix. Where have the games been streaming? They've been on Courtside 1981. That is an app that you can download. They were selling a package for the tournament specifically for like 17 euros, which I did buy. I don't remember what that translates to American dollars, but just kind of put the card on it, and then it was what it was. But yeah, I typically do that for these tournaments. Like they'll sell, like they won't try to get you in like a month or a year. They'll just sell it for like, the tournament, which is going to be good to know because with the Olympics coming up, although that's going to be Peacock NBC, but that's not the end of international play. It is for this year, but then next year there's going to be like Eurobasket, Asia Basket, Afro Basket in Africa, and then FIBA AmeriCup. All those things are next year. I'm sure Courtside 1981 is going to have those. So that's how you sort of watch these. Jao do not have any Portuguese or Brazilian roots. I'm actually Puerto Rican. See the boxing gloves right behind me. The Dominican flag is because my girlfriend's Dominican. Okay, so back to the Spanish bracket. We have Spain moving on. They went 2-0. They beat Angola. They beat the hell out of Lebanon, 104-59. Angola lost twice. They move on. In Group B, Bahamas advanced. They went 2-0. They beat Finland. They beat Poland. And then yesterday, Finland came back and beat Poland. They were down like 15 at one point, and they outscored them in the fourth quarter, 29-17. They won 89-88 in the final minute of the game. So the matchups in the Spanish bracket: Bahamas versus Lebanon, Spain versus Finland. East Coast time, because this is where I'm at. 11:30 a.m. That's when the Bahamas is going to play. Spain's going to be a little bit after that one. Bahamas is going to play Lebanon, and interestingly enough, Bahamas on the verge of potentially qualifying for the Olympics for the first time ever. We'll see how they do in a potential matchup with Spain. I like them very much as an underdog leading up to this. They were plus 650 to sort of bet. And yeah, that's a price that's looking better and better by the game. Also of note, Bahamas, biggest favorite tomorrow. The biggest favorite in all the knockout stage games. They are 27.5-point favorites against Lebanon. They're expected to beat them up. DeAndre Ayton, Buddy Hield, Eric Gordon. VJ Edgecombe has been one of the stories of the FIBA Olympic qualifier so far. Spain is the second biggest favorite tomorrow. They are 17.5-point favorites at home against Finland. So we have Spain, we have Bahamas are the two teams that are expected to advance from there. I think the Bahamas could actually win that matchup. Shout out to my boy Tibby. I think his team could win that. The difference in this stylistic matchup is Spain, who has Willie Hernan Gomez, Juancho Hernan Gomez, Santi Aldama's on the team, Juan Nunez, who was recently just drafted to the NBA. This is not like a top end Spanish team in terms of talent, but they do have skill, they do have shooting, and they do have chemistry. They move the ball very, very well. These are things that could bother the Bahamas. What the Bahamas has that could bother Spain is they have the athleticism and they have the top end talent. Some of the guys that I mentioned earlier. So the Bahamas and Spain is sort of a clash of styles. Spain's going to have the home court advantage. I assume that if they play each other, they'll be the favorites. I don't know by how much. I don't think it will be that much. And we'll see. We'll go from there. But I like the Bahamas before this tournament starts, and could probably hedge with Spain in the final if I want. But I think this Bahamian team is a problem. They just they struggled a little bit to put away Finland at one point. So Spain has the sort of the demeanor necessary to beat a team with better top end talent and athleticism. So that's what we have in that bracket. We have Bahamas versus Lebanon. We have Spain versus Finland, and the two winners there will take on each other. It'll likely be the Bahamas versus Spain. Okay. Moving to Latvia. This has arguably been the most fun bracket of all of them. Nobody in this bracket went 2-0. Nobody in this bracket went 0-2. It's ridiculous. So Latvia, Philippines move on in Group A. Georgia's eliminated. Georgia gave a good run and beat the Philippines late, but point differential wasn't enough. Latvia smoked Georgia early on, and then they lost to the Philippines. And I had people in my comments saying, hey, Philippines, dark horse, whatever. And, they were probably Filipino, but hey, those takes age well because the Philippines went out, beat Latvia in Latvia, and they nearly beat Georgia and nearly went 2-0. Justin Brownlee, St. John stand up, been very good this tournament. 26-9-9 and then 28-8-8. Group B, Brazil and Cameroon advanced. Montenegro, point differential got them by 4 points. 4 points. And Montenegro honestly should have beat Brazil the first game, but Brazil rallied. Brazil's super tough. I love Iago dos Santos. Talked about this before the tournament. Bruno Caboclo. I always stumble on the second, third syllable of that name. Really stifled Nikola Vucevic in that game. Nikola Vucevic really struggled in the second and third quarter in particular, and even some of the fourth after he got off to a pretty hot start. Kendrick Perry shot 4 for 18. 4 for 18 in that game. So another reason why Montenegro couldn't hang on. So Brazil beats Montenegro, and then Brazil loses to Cameroon. Montenegro beats Cameroon, and then before that, they lost to Brazil, as I mentioned, just a mess of a bracket. So the matchups we have from Latvia. Brazil versus Philippines. Brazil's like a 10.5-point favorite. I don't know about that. And then Cameroon versus Latvia in Latvia. Latvia's like 12.5-point favorite or so. So all double-digit spreads so far. That's what we're dealing with. I really think the Philippines could at least cover. And I already bet that. So just in terms of looking at this game, I think the Philippines, they play hard. Kai Soto, who was once projected to be an NBA prospect, is on this team, and he's played well. I mentioned Justin Brownlee before. They don't have Jordan Clarkson, but they've still been effective. And I think their play warrants them being better than a 10.5-point underdog against Brazil, given that Brazil's had some struggles and nearly went 0-2. They lost to a Cameroon team that they were favored against and should have beaten. And they did beat and cover against Montenegro, but they were losing for the majority of that game and even heading into the fourth quarter before outscoring Montenegro 29-16. But I still like that Brazilian team. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they just bounce back and blow the doors off the Philippines. But given what we've seen from this tournament, I honestly don't expect that yet. So I kind of like the Philippines to at least cover in that game, but could potentially be upset there. We'll see. And then Latvia, Cameroon. I just like Latvia. Cameroon's playing so hard. Like, they've been a very nice story in this tournament. But Latvia, while I do think we're bordering on, do they deserve that much credit for finishing fifth in the World Cup? We'll see. But I like how Latvia played, at least in the game against Georgia. And I think Latvia should take care of this. They were favored to win the bracket. I think they should win the bracket at home. But Man, something tells me that the Philippines, I like them more than Cameroon to pull off an upset here, and Latvia is not a given at all, at all. It should win this tournament, but I don't think all four favorites are just going to win their tournaments. We're going to get to the other two favorites in a second. Um, None comments about Puerto Rico. I'm going to get to Puerto Rico a little bit later. That's actually going to be the last bracket that I get to. But thank you for the comment. I'm going to get to Puerto Rico. But they did advance. They're going to be in the semifinals. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, so we got Latvia again one more time. Brazil versus Philippines. Cameroon versus Latvia. Two winners will play each other. I think we'll get Latvia versus Brazil, but I think the Philippines could make a run there. And I'm going to bet on them to at least cover. Latvia versus Philippines won't surprise me at all, and I'd be curious to see what that line is going to be. Okay. Talking very fast now. Greece. The Greece one is fun too. Croatia, Slovenia advance. New Zealand got the big win over Croatia, upset, but point differential got them. They got blown out by Slovenia. New Zealand doesn't advance. Unfortunate. New Zealand's got guys I like: Isaiah Leafa, Corey Webster, Finn Delaney, Shaley, who also had 28, 10, and 4 against Slovenia last game. They lost that one. New Zealand's always tough. I just feel like if they had their guys, that they can really do something. And then you have Croatia, Slovenia, Group A. Group B, you have Greece versus the Dominican Republic. They both blew out Egypt, and then Greece blew out the Dominican Republic. Greece is 2-0. The matchups here: Greece versus Slovenia. If you're an NBA fan, Luka versus Giannis. Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. God, that's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun. So in terms of that one, and I should mention from the last bracket, Brazil versus Philippines, it's going to be at 8:30 tomorrow morning. So these are going to be on all day tomorrow. I'll do the times and the matchups at the end of this one more time. Greece versus Slovenia is at 10:30 a.m. And then the Dominican Republic, Croatia, which is the other matchup in the semifinal here, that's going to be at 2 p.m. So Luka versus Giannis is going to be Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're on the West Coast, it's going to be at 7:30. So you might have to wake up a little bit early from your July 4th or July 5th, rather, week, day, whatever the case may be. I stumbled on that one. Dominican Republic versus Croatia is an interesting matchup as well. I think for Greece and Slovenia. So Slovenia is an underdog here, as expected. This is in Greece, 8.5 points. And Croatia is a 9.5 point favorite against the Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic doesn't have their top guys necessarily, but they do have some good players on their team. Leadership in Victor Lees, G. Montero as well, who's one of the young players in this tournament, who's been very, very interesting to watch. And I loved him heading into the World Cup. He was once, I believe, a two-way signee or an Exhibit 10 with the Knicks after playing in the overtime league. He's young, talented. He's good. And also Chris Duarte, NBA talent on their roster. But I think Croatia is going to be a little too much. Dario Saric, who has a triple-double already in qualifiers in this tournament. Mario Hezonja, blast from the past there. If you're following the NBA, Croatia has him as well. And Ivica Zubac, who had 29 and 16 against a smaller New Zealand club, or team rather. So Croatia should take care of the Dominican Republic, given how they've played. They could honestly be 2-0, but they're not. Greece, Slovenia, man, I kind of want Slovenia to cover that. That's I think the bet I would want there. But in terms of looking at this from a purely basketball standpoint, I don't know if Greece is going to lose in Greece. I don't know. They were favored before this tournament also, and Slovenia was second. I think a lot of people expected we get this in the final and that Slovenia would take care of Croatia. That did not happen. I think this is going to be Greece and Croatia, but I don't like betting against Luka Doncic in a big spot, especially when he's not facing the Boston Celtics. He's capable of some special things. They really need to get Vlatko Konchar started offensively. Jesus, man. He had a donut last game, and he's not hitting his shots that he should be. So I think we'll get Croatia versus Greece here. And then I think Greece will finish it out. But man, I would look at Croatia as an underdog, like price-wise, because Croatia has some special moments in this tournament, and Ivica Zubac is going to give everybody problems on the international stage because of what he could do on the interior. All right, let's go to Puerto Rico. This is in San Juan. This is the one that I've been especially invested in because of my roots. Group A, Lithuania, Mexico advance. Mexico gets a big win over Ivory Coast. They outscored them 24-12 in the fourth quarter of their game on July 4th. Paul Stoll, I mean, he had 23, and I don't even think that captures how good he was in that game against Ivory Coast. And this is an Ivory Coast team that nearly beat Lithuania on July 3rd. Lithuania was struggling in that game and then finally picked it up toward the finish. But the Ivory Coast were leading with like a couple minutes left in the fourth quarter. Like the Ivory Coast played their asses off, and that was a loss that ended up killing them. If they won that game, there's a pretty good chance that they would have advanced. So you have Lithuania and Mexico there. And then in Group B, you have Puerto Rico and Italy. Puerto Rico and Italy played each other last night. Jose Alvarado came off the bench. He had 29 points. He made 7 3-pointers. Puerto Rico won 80-69 as underdogs in Puerto Rico. And it was the first time they'd beaten Italy since 1963. Italy, for whatever reason, has been Puerto Rico's kryptonite. It's been ridiculous. They beat them in Olympic qualifiers last time. They beat them in the World Cup in 2023. Like, they just continually beat Puerto Rico in basketball over the last, what is that, 60 years or so, 60 years plus. So they got the win. Tremont Waters was also special playmaking, had a double-double, had 12 assists. George Condit, also very effective on the inside. He's becoming a center that Puerto Rico needs because they are typically undersized, which is going to be an issue for them if they play Lithuania, but that's what we have. And then both of them beat Bahrain. Bahrain was, unfortunately for them, the worst team in this tournament. So they lost 114-53 against Italy and 99-56 against Puerto Rico. Point differential for those scoring at home, -104, worst of the tournament for Bahrain. Okay, so Puerto Rico versus Mexico. Whew, that's a rivalry. A friendly one, though. A lot of my homies are Mexican. And then you got Italy versus Lithuania on the other side of the semifinals. That was big for Puerto Rico to beat Italy last night to avoid the Lithuania matchup until potentially the final. Puerto Rico, pretty big favorite against Mexico, 13.5 points. I was a little surprised by that. I feel like this could be closer. Mexico's got a couple wins over Puerto Rico in recent years, but I believe beat them in World Cup qualifiers, actually, even in Mexico. But Puerto Rico and Mexico, like, this is a rivalry for sure. But Puerto Rico's just got more on their team with Jose Alvarado, Tremont Waters, George Condit, John Clavel also, who, man, he had some timely threes last night as well. And Italy against Lithuania. Lithuania is going to be, like, they were the favorites to win this entire bracket. This was the matchup that some people may have had circled for the finals, like Greece and Slovenia. We're getting that one here. Lithuania is -6.5 to beat Italy. I think Italy can keep this close. I like what they did against Puerto Rico offensively early on. They were playing through Danilo Gallinari. They were moving the ball very, very well, generating open looks from three-point range. Nicolo Melli was also playing well early on. And then over the course of time, they started missing shots. Puerto Rico was locking down defensively, forcing some contested looks. And then defensively, they try to deploy a zone, which I wonder how much of that we're going to see against Lithuania, who shot only 25 threes a game in the World Cup, but 42% during that World Cup was the best in the tournament. So they could shoot. They just don't shoot a ton of threes. Puerto Rico got them with the variance. Like, Puerto Rico during the World Cup was 30+ threes a game and made like 38% of them. They're going to jack up a lot of threes. They may not need to against Mexico necessarily, but I think that's going to be a close game, entertaining game. But I think Puerto Rico wins that, and I think Lithuania should beat Italy. Domantas Sabonis and not Jonas Valanciunas is leading the way for Lithuania, and Domantas Sabonis, who had 22 and 9, I believe, against Ivory Coast. They're going to need him in this game against Mexico. And in this game against Italy, and then potentially in the game against Puerto Rico or Mexico. I think we get Puerto Rico, Lithuania. I thought that from kind of the beginning. And Lithuania should win that game, should be favored, but Puerto Rico's got the shot variance. They're going to have the home crowd. I like the move of Coach Colon bringing Jose Alvarado off the bench as a six-man, so that you're not starting out super small with Tremont Waters and Jose Alvarado, and you bring him in as a six-man, give him energy, shooting, defense, and he's an emotional player that guys are going to feed off of and the crowd's going to feed off of. So it makes a lot of sense to have him in that 6-man role, especially because Tremont Waters is also the better passer of the two. So to recap, and those games are at night, by the way. The Puerto Rico tournament portion, that's going to be at night. Those are the last two, so we're going to end there. So to recap, all the games, every last one. And we're going to also give out the times, as I mentioned earlier. So in Spain, you have the Bahamas versus Lebanon. That's going to be at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, 8:30 Pacific. I don't know where everybody is in the world, but you can kind of figure it out from there. 11:30 Eastern, Bahamas versus Lebanon. Bahamas now 26.5-point favorites. So some money came in on Lebanon, evidently, from the time we were recording this. Maybe it was one of y'all watching this who just placed the bet. And comments, questions, if you want, I could take some of those at the end if there are any. And then we have Spain versus Finland. Spain, again, 17.5-point favorites. That's going to be at 2:30 Eastern time. That's going to be on courtside 1981 on that app. So those are the two matchups there. Bahamas, Lebanon, Spain, Finland, Latvia. Yeah, Brazil and the Philippines. That's the first matchup tomorrow. That's 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So all my homies from Brazil and the Philippines, y'all got to get up pretty early for that. If you're on the States, if you're actually in the country, times may vary. I don't know the particular time zones off the top of my head, but 8:30 a.m. on a Saturday is going to be early for a lot of people. So Brazil versus Philippines, that's going to happen there. And then you got Latvia versus Cameroon at noon Eastern Standard Time. Again, Brazil is a 10.5-point favorite against Philippines. And then you have Latvia is a 12.5-point favorite against Cameroon. That's going to be a super fun bracket. So definitely lock in for that one. Over in Greece, the big one for a lot of people tomorrow. This should honestly be on ESPN. Greece versus Slovenia. Luka versus Giannis. 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in Greece. Then you have the Dominican Republic versus Croatia at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be a good one as well. Croatia, 9.5-point favorite against the Dominican Republic. Greece, 8.5-point favorite against Slovenia. Then, finally, in Puerto Rico, these are the last two matchups of the day. Italy versus Lithuania, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is Italy versus Lithuania. Italy, 6.5-point underdog against Lithuania. And then you have Puerto Rico versus Mexico. The rivalry. I would venture to say friendly rivalry in a lot of instances, but a rivalry no less. Puerto Rico versus Mexico, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be a tense contest for sure. I'm expecting some of our Mexican brothers and sisters to be over there in San Juan watching the game. Puerto Rico is a 13.5-point favorite against Mexico for that one. So those are all the matchups. I gave out some underdogs that I like. Philippines is one of them that I think can cover. Slovenia, obviously. I mean, I think a lot of people are going to think that they could cover, but listen, there's going to be surprises. There's going to be things that I'm wrong about. There's going to be things that a lot of people are wrong about because this doesn't always go the way it should. And I don't think all four home teams are going to just win at home. And Puerto Rico is the only home team that wasn't favored at all heading into this. And now they have a pathway to potentially getting Lithuania in the final, which is the best case scenario for them. So Diego Torres, shout out to the homie Diego, Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Very excited about that one. And then Marv's love from the Philippines. Shout out to everybody in the Philippines. I do want to visit the Philippines at some point. I've been told it's dope. And I got enough Filipino friends who they're like, yeah, you should pull up over there. It's nice out there. So that's what we have. Those are the knockout stage matchups. I'm going to do it again one more time. And I'm going to do this one in order of the brackets and things of that nature. So in Spain, we have Bahamas versus Lebanon. It's at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then you have Spain versus Finland, 2:30. The two winners face each other, and the winner moves on to the Olympics. Latvia, we have Brazil versus the Philippines. That's the first game tomorrow. That's at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then you have Cameroon versus Latvia. That's at noon Eastern Standard Time. Two winners face each other. The winner goes on to the Olympics. Then you have in Greece versus Slovenia. Again, that's going to be at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. that is going to set up a matchup between the winner of that and the winner of the Dominican Republic and Croatia. That's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Two winners face each other. The winner goes on to the Olympics. And then in Puerto Rico, you have at 4 p.m. Italy versus Lithuania, and it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You have Puerto Rico versus Mexico. So two winners there. Winner goes on to the Olympics. Only 4 of these teams will qualify for the Olympics. And after tomorrow, we're going to know the final 8, where we're going to have just 4 head-to-head matchups on Sunday to see who qualifies for the Olympics. And I can't wait. On the channel and content-wise, don't know if I'm going to also preview the finals, like the stuff on Sunday, like if that's going to happen Sunday morning, if that's going to be something I do. But at the very least, if I don't do that, or even if I do, I'm going to definitely recap just Olympic qualifiers and do something on that after it's done, and actually look ahead toward, okay, the Olympics. Now we know the 12 teams. That's going to be either Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on my schedule. I got a bunch of work coming up, but happy to squeeze this in. Thank y'all for joining me. Got some comments in as well, so that's nice to see. Hopefully y'all been enjoying the coverage. I've been trying to do my best with keeping up with this and helping people sort of kind of understand what's going on, because it can be very confusing. Even for someone like me who loves this stuff, it can get very confusing as to like what the hell is actually happening here. So that's where we are. And yeah, this is what's going on here in FIBA world. So Courtside 1981 app, that's where you can find all the games, legally at least. And thank y'all for watching. I have more on the channel very, very soon. YouTube.com/Bryan Fonseca. We're trying things out there, mostly talking about basketball and combat sports, but we're going to squeeze in some other things as well. And yeah,